Hey, Brian here. Today's topic, who owns the heart and soul of America? We are in a battle for the heart and soul of America, but it's not the one we think it is. Do you think there's only right versus left? Only see blinding flashes of red when you think about the other side and how insane they are? Don't understand why the other side can't see the simple truth? How can they be so divorced from morality and reality to have those views? Now, if you're on the left, you probably want to win these battles with facts and figures and logic, even though that hasn't been working for over 40 years. And the right wants to win by making everyone realize that the woke mob is wrong and out to take away our freedom. We are locked in what appears to be a struggle for the soul of our nation. But I'd suggest that neither side is approaching this in a way that will lead to a win. Why? Because someone, or a really small group of someones, are standing behind the curtain and directing the drama. This small elite group does it for their own personal benefit, and they have already won. Now they are holding on to their power in part by keeping the rest of us distracted so we don't focus on the real problem. These are the battles that a tiny group of people want us to fight while they jet off to their private islands, party on their mega yachts, and sip from a glass of whiskey that costs more than your rent. They have wealth and use that to get power, or vice versa, and they want more. Where does it come from? They use the rest of us. They use us by not paying us what we are really worth at our jobs. They use us when they buy politicians and make that legal by passing laws to call it lobbying and other laws that allow unlimited money in politics. Do you have unlimited money? I know I don't. Only their money counts since we don't have enough to make a difference. They use us by setting up a system where money is king and those who have the money rule. And then they keep us on the hook, giving us just enough slack to make us believe that one day we may be rich too. They also use us by setting us against each other. They have think tanks and foundations that not only fund the culture wars, but create them in the first place. They hire the people who write the talking points and figure out how to make the issues seem as extreme as possible. They take advantage of our fears and worst instincts. And then they put a lot of money in research and publicity into telling us that these problems exist. And we dance to their tunes. They are very smart about it, though, about as smart as money can buy. For instance, they know that an educated population might see through what they are doing. So they put their wealth and power behind projects to underfund schools, overwork teachers, make us blame teachers for the problems, and make sure that most of us don't trust our education system. This is just one of many areas with their fingerprints on it. These already insanely wealthy, powerful elites always want more. And they pull out our most negative demons to push us against each other so we stay distracted. So what can we do? It's not going to be easy, but we need to take back our society and culture. 40 years ago, they started to drive us apart. They want us to focus on the ways we are individuals who are being wronged. They want us to focus on our personal freedom and ignore the fact that we are all in this together. The idea that none of us are free until we are all free runs from the Bible to the American Revolution, anti-slavery campaigns, the civil rights movement, and is still just as true today. We are pushed to focus on personal freedom, ignoring the fact that if we don't look out for each other, our freedoms will be picked off one at a time. Why do they want us to focus just on ourselves? So we move away from what made us great as Americans. We are at our best when we are one big community, working together to help each other out and thus make us all better. This is what the idea of communities is all about. But our communities have been weakened and separated into tribes. We've been pushed to fight each other to mask the policies and elites that we should really focus on. They don't want us to realize what's going on, and they really don't want us to work together as Americans. Now is the time that we need to start pushing back. It's time for Americans to relearn how to speak the same language and actually hold a conversation with each other. People in rural areas, post-industrial areas, and small towns actually communicating with people in urban areas and big cities. We need to relearn how to listen to each other. We need to stop assuming based on our worst instincts and start looking at what makes us all human. We need to relearn how to respond in ways that show empathy and compassion for other human beings, and in ways that treat everyone else as human, not as the enemy. We need to create a new populist language that can bring us all together. I'd suggest a first goal here. How do we get to a point where people can sit at a dinner table or at work again and talk politics in meaningful ways where one or both sides are not threatened or ostracized? That's where this starts at a very basic level, talking and listening. We need to change the way we talk about politics. At its best, politics should be about organizing our society to help all of us live better lives. Right now, I think we are experiencing politics at its worst. To fix this, we need to change the way that all of us, left, right, rural, urban, small town, and big, the way that all of us look at politics. Just because politics is bad doesn't mean that it can't improve. We need to remember that right now, that small group is absolutely profiting off of politics as usual. And the rest of us need to work together if we want things to improve. As it stands right now, we're all encouraged to fight amongst ourselves. And while we do that, that tiny group of people are winning. That group is using our politicians on all sides to fight the battle for them. Some of those politicians are even well-meaning, but they're caught up in a system that isn't working, and a system that only has two sides competing like sports teams. We've been taught to look at this like sports, where only one side can win. And when we do that, most of us lose, except for that one small group collecting wealth and power at the top, just like the owners of the sports teams. Every time we fight, it distracts us. We don't pay attention to the fact that they keep getting more and more while we squabble. They love the fact that we keep playing a game we can't win, while they keep winning at the game the rest of us aren't even playing. So what do we do? What do we need to do? Before changing our politics, we need to change our society and culture. We've been poked, prodded, and taught over the past 40 years to be in warring camps. We've been encouraged nonstop to focus on our differences. We've been told over and over again that the other side is the enemy, that the other side wants to destroy our country, and that we can't get along. And the longer we keep fighting each other, the more that small group of elites profits. We need to start by changing our national focus. Instead of looking for our differences, we need to start looking at all the ways that we as Americans are alike. We need to start focusing on the positive ways we can help each other, like good neighbors do in a community, instead of looking at our differences and assuming the worst of everyone. When we look at it, our similarities are much greater than our differences, which is why they try so hard to divide us. What do we have in common? Just a few things. We all want a decent life for ourselves and our families. We want a job that allows us to put food on the table and give our kids a little more than we have, not 3 jobs that barely make ends meet. Maybe even a job that allows us to have more than a few $100 in our savings account at any given time. a job where we don't have to worry every month about how we're going to pay our bills. We want a good education for our kids with trade school or college at the end of that can lead them to a better life. We want good quality health care when and where we need it, without insurance companies denying coverage or putting up roadblocks so they don't have to pay out of their profits. We want to be able to make decisions on our health with our doctors and no one else, for ourselves and our kids. We want affordable prescription drugs. We want decent food that we can afford in neighborhood stores that we can get to easily. We want clean water to come out of the pipes in our home, at school, and at work. We don't want a polluted environment that hurts us or our neighbors, or the water and land where we get our food. We want to be safe from crime and violence. We want decent quality of life when our parents get older, or if we ever get there. We want affordable childcare when all the adults in the house have to go to work without most of one's salary going to pay for it. And we want decent roads, bridges, help with disasters if we are unlucky enough to be in the way, and many more things. You might be thinking that was a pretty long list, and you'd be right. I'm sure we could come up with many other things we have in common if we sit down and get to know each other better. And none of those things are unreasonable in what we are regularly told is the richest country on the planet. But the vast majority of us lack one or more of those things. Why? In large part because our government is not working for us. And why is that? Because it's working for them. The very few at the very top of the incredibly high pyramid of power and wealth in this country. They get all of the tax breaks while we pay. They get government subsidies and incentives for their businesses and investments. They write the laws and tax codes so that the crimes they commit often don't even have prison sentences. And we all are left with tiny benefits and a lot of problems. Problems that are fixable if only the system worked for us. This is what needs to change. Who is the heart and soul of America? We are. But who owns the heart and soul of America? They do. We need to change our culture and society, because if we don't look behind the curtain to see who is benefiting, they will continue to push us apart. That's how they win. We need to come together.